Hello and welcome to the Poultry Health Research Network here at the University of Guelph. I'm Ryan Snyder, the coordinator, and I'll be your host today. Today you're going to see an interview from one of our graduate students who's working on poultry research right here at the university. Enjoy. Today we're here with Juan Sanchez. Juan, thanks for joining us.
Same here.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you find your way to become involved in the poultry industry? What's your background and what are your interests?
Well, I grew up hoping to be a forensic pathologist. So after I graduated from my undergrad, I realized that I had a passion for animals. So I decided to come to University of Guelph to do like an honors equivalency just to get a background in animal biology. And then sitting in one of my classes, I was in a class with Fern Osborne, and during the class he said that if any of us need any advice, just come to him. So I went to him and he just told me about all this industry, like this whole poultry livestock industry, and he just gave me a few pointers where to find different research positions and stuff, and then I ended up falling onto Dr. Kiarie's desk, and I did get hired as a undergrad research assistant, and I've been with Dr. Kiarie for 3 years, and that's pretty much how I ended up in this industry. Just I fell in love with it, just doing research, and realized that my passion is with avian species per se. Yeah.
Oh, very good. So you found your way to Dr. Kiarie's lab and you did an undergrad project. Now you're working on what program?
My master's.
Your master's program.
Yeah.
And how far along are you?
I just started in January, so 2 semesters.
Okay. And what group of poultry are you working with?
I'm working with broiler chickens and turkeys.
Okay. And what specifically are you investigating with these birds?
We're investigating the interactive effects of fibrous feed ingredients, so corn DGGS and wheat middlings, being fed to these 2 different species and using enzymes to find if there's any improvement in the growth performance or any different aspects.
Right. So it's a nutritional study in order to improve the performance of the birds.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very cool. And have you completed or started any experiments yet?
Yeah, we did 2 trials. One trial was with just the broiler chickens, the other was with turkeys. I did that last summer, so well before I actually started my master's.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2 full month trials.
Wow, that's pretty involved.
Yeah.
And so tell us, how did the trials go? Did you, before we even get into some of the results, was it labor intensive? Did you have a lot of samples to take, a lot of procedures to perform?
Oh yeah, we did our trials in floor pens, so we had to collect excreta. So I had to go in for 4 days right before the experiment ended and scrape out shavings every day, twice a day, just to get clean excreta. The trials were pretty labor intensive in that broiler chickens and turkeys eat a lot of feed, so we had to weigh feed. Towards the end of the experiment, I pretty much had to weigh feed every day for these birds, yeah. But it was rewarding. Just seeing the initial results of the growth performance is really rewarding to see that your hard work has helped.
And so before we even get into the results, tell us a little bit about the experiment, how it was performed and where it was performed.
Okay, so my experiment was done at the Arkell Poultry Research Farm. It followed a 4x2x2 factorial design where we had 2 basal diets, one based on corn, one based on wheat, and those diets were in turn split into 2 with 10%, we've added 10% corn DGGS or wheat middlings respectively, with or without that. And then those were in turn split into 2 where we had with or without an enzyme cocktail added. And then we used those diets in 2 different experiments, one with turkeys, one with broilers. And yeah, the experiment did last 28 days. We collected a whole lot of different samples, and
would these samples include tissue samples and fecal samples like you mentioned?
Yeah, so we did excreta, we did cecal samples, ileal digester, we did TBF samples for the turkeys. We did plasma samples, and I think that's it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this project has pretty far-reaching implications, not just locally here in Ontario, because there's a lot of wheat-based diets out in the western parts
Yeah.
of Canada. So this is going to be useful for all different parts of poultry production across the country and even across the continent.
Yeah.
Very cool. Are there major funders for this project?
Yeah. Canadian Biosystems is one of my funders. Also Afro.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was there any collaborations with other labs at the University of Guelph or other institutions?
There were no official collaborations, but I am doing viscosity with Dr. Bobbitt over at Food Science.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And so what was the most exciting thing about this trial for you?
The most exciting thing, I'd say, the results. We didn't find, like, for all the initial growth performance results, we didn't find anything that we were expect. Like, we did find expected results, but there were a lot of surprise results, which gets us more to thinking and brings us back into literature and gives us more things to find in the lab as well. I find that was exciting, and then the whole alternative feed ingredient aspect of the industry, I find that really exciting. So having to work with an alternative feed ingredient is really rewarding. Yeah.
Good. So what general conclusion can you draw from this study, if you have to bring it into one statement for the industry?
I would say for now it's a bit too early to make a conclusion, but I would say that the enzymes do work in certain instances. I know, like, they don't really work with wheat, or they don't really work with corn, and it's all based on specificity. So it's just all based on the enzyme cocktail and the ingredient you put with that enzyme cocktail. But I do think the enzymes work when they're added to these feed ingredients, and they do help the chickens.
Excellent. And so is this the end of your research for your master's, or do you have any other experiments planned?
For now, there's no experiments planned. This is all I have.
So you're just in the final stages of writing?
Well, analysis for sure.
Analysis,
yeah.
and then writing, one step at a time.
Yeah.
And so what are your next steps? What kind of careers are you looking for? Are you looking at academics?
My dream goal will be to do be an avian veterinarian, but with the way my life has gone, it's changed a lot, so I might find something else along the way.
Great.
But I would love to stay in this industry for sure.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you. This has been another PHRN student interview. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.